Welcome to my Paint With Me series. Today we're going to be painting 3 different Christmas trees on some items that I picked up from Dollar Tree. These little live edge pieces you can find at Dollar Tree. They're pretty big and they have such a nice surface to paint on. I have 3 different style Christmas trees that we're going to be painting today. They're all super easy, and I mean that so much. I don't use the word easy lightly around here, but I promise you'll be able to follow these instructions and recreate one of these at home. I promised I would do this tutorial last Christmas season and almost ended the season this year forgetting to pop this in my tutorial playlist, but your girl remembered, mostly because several of you reminded me that I was supposed to do this. So thank you. Each of these have these little, jute twine thingies. You can keep these on here if you want and paint your trees, whatever. I want to use them the length of the piece of wood. So I just like it. Sometimes you're lucky and these pop out like this. Other times they do not. These suckers are really in there. They mean business, like this one. And I'm just gonna listen. I'm not doing anything with these that I need to worry about that little piece of pooch fuzz staying right there. So let's move on. One of the reasons these are my favorite pieces that you can get at Dollar Tree to paint is they look high-end on their own. They look like something you grabbed at Hobby Lobby. And I know because I have literally grabbed the packs that Hobby Lobby has like this and have been painting on them on and off for years. So when Dollar Tree came out with these, and I'm pretty sure it was last year, was the first time I seen them in the store, I've been grabbing them ever since. I've decoupaged these suckers. I've done many projects on these. And at one point, these were even in my decoupage kits that I was offering on my website. And you can see here, like, this wood is super smooth. It's really finished. So it's just ready for you to do whatever you're going to do with the piece of wood. Here are the colors we're pretty much going to be using, and we can mix the greens together. We can mix the yellow in with the greens to give it more of a greener hue. We can take some of this black and mix in there to get a darker color. I just wanted to share with you what I'm going to be using. You use whatever greens make you feel fuzzy inside. And people, I want to share this with you real quick. And if you're new to me, hi, my name is Brandy. And I do these tutorials from time to time. They're a little bit lengthy, so please keep that in mind. They are meant to be step by step. These type of videos are not for everyone. Some people will come in the comments and they're like, oh, it's too long, it's this, it's that, get to the point. Listen, then this kind of content is not for you. I'll see you on Friday when it's a little bit more sped up. But for those of you that want more of a breakdown, want to know the who, what, when, why I do this and that, and what I'm using and where I'm getting things from, stay right here. This kind of content is for you. I do have a browsing channel where I go shopping. It's called Browse with Brandy, and I share mostly DIY related things. This is a whole $4.99. See that? From Ross. If you are sleeping on Ross Dress for Less, stop it. Stop it right now. Go visit Ross. And yes, they have a craft section. I bet you did not know that. I love Ross's craft section. So we're only going to need 2 types of paintbrushes. We're going to need a fan brush, which I'm not even sure if they got one in here. Oh no. Do we not have a fan brush in here? I don't see a fan brush. And we're going to need like a round brush, which is one of these. I'm going to have to get a fan brush out my stash, people. I'm going to actually grab a couple different round brushes because it never hurts to just have different ones in here. And if you're not sure, they tell you on the back the types of brushes, and you don't have to even know the names of any of this for stuff like that. Just go to the store and look for something that looks like that. Okay, just go to the store and look for anything that looks like that. You don't need a name, friends. You don't have to be anything at the store and be like, oh, I need this. Like, just if it looks like that, grab it. You'll be able to paint some Christmas trees. Okay, I promise. And now for the holy grail of brushes. Just kidding. Seriously though, these are like my favorite brushes. I get these, ready? I get these off Temu. I know, I just blew your minds. I know it. I get these off Temu. I do. I love these. These are my favorite fan brushes. I've got fan brushes from several different, I was ready to settle for whatever they were giving me out of that pack. These are my favorite joints. Okay. I do not break these out very often. I also have, a white bottom one somewhere that I love as well. I also get from Temu. I just like the way these apply things, and I will keep them. I will keep them in bulk. Let's start with the easiest tree first, and we're going to need to create a trunk. And look at me lying to y'all already, because I said that was what colors we're going to use. We're going to need some brown. Okay, let me grab some brown. Also, I would like to talk as I'm mixing our chocolate sprinkle here with a little bit of black paint, and remind anyone that is popping in that I am not a professional artist. I have not had paint classes. I have not had particular training. I have not been schooled in any of this. Mostly what I talk about is we're using some black. This is just chalk. It doesn't have to be chalk paint. It just happens to be like, what's right here? I'm lazy, okay? It's what's right here. I don't want to go find wherever my black acrylic chalk paint or my black acrylic paint is right now, okay? That was right there. See how easy that is? Now we have these two paints, okay, separate of each other. And I'm going to pop a little bit of vanilla in here too. Back to what I was saying. Most of what I talk about on or in these tutorials is just off my experience of doing this for years. I have been painting since I was a child. I just have basic, I'm not like no master painter. Some of you guys are so cute. You're like, Bob Ross, I love y'all. Because you just have way more, you know, faith in me than I have in myself. So everything, if you're a professional, down in the comments, add any sort of, I love to say that I feel like even though some of you nasty Nellies want to write your negativeness in my comments, I like to say that my comments are a place of knowledge and education. If you have information to offer, add value, everyone is here trying to learn something on your DIY journey. So please pass on all your information that you have. Kindness is amazing and I appreciate you. So let's get started onto our easy tree. I'm going to take and mix both of these, making a third color. We need more brown, but I also want to keep that separate. So this way, if I want to pull from the black or the brown, I can. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. This is just something that I really like to do whenever I'm painting. I like to take two colors and blend them together. And not even blend them fully, so you can still see the stripe there. You see that? Another thing that's also really easy to do, and I'm just going to use this. If you want to create a straight line, grab anything that's straight, and you can just plop it on down. Try and find your center. And like you're going to see right here, I'm using a bag. If you got a ruler, you have a piece of paper, whatever, it does not matter. Put it down, find your center, and then just take your brush and start from the bottom or the top. It's completely up to you. This way your line will be as straight as you want it. And then just up you go. And then just keep going until you reach however tall you want it. We want this sucker kind of tall. Actually, let me move this over here so I'm not covering it up. We want this sucker kind of tall. I'm going to put this brush sideways as a round brush. So this way the peak of our tree is kind of pointy and we can come back and go over that. And then I'm just pulling it down. Okay. It's not perfect, right? Hot mess. Now I'm going to pull some of that brown and just add in and go over. So this way it just gives it different colors. And make your trunk or your base of your tree, whichever you want to call this, as thick as you want. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can add the bottom, make it thicker. I like to go in and do that later after we're all finished. But I'm happy with this. We're going to leave it alone. And look, that's pretty centered. Okay, pretty centered. We are going to mix our English green ivy with a little bit of black paint. I'm going to start with the darkest first. And as you can see, that's pretty dark on its own, but we want to go a shade darker. I'm going to do 3 different color greens on this one. So I'm going to put this brush over to the side so we can use that joint later. That's why I said grab yourself a couple round brushes. Now I'm going to take some of this black paint and I'm just going to smoosh it in here, and just to make another color, because we want to go as dark as we can go with the green and then go lighter. A little bit more black. All right, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to put this off to the side, and then we're going to bust out the fan brush. Tappity tap, tap, tap that sucker in your paint color that you just made. And here we go. We're going to start at the top, just under the peak. And we're going to start real tiny and just tap, 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 tap. And slant it down just a little bit, okay? Not a lot, just a little bit. Slant it down, tap, 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 tap. And then you can move this. Don't be afraid to move your little piece of wood. That's why doing stuff like this on a smaller piece is good, and you don't have to use the whole piece of the fan brush. Just tap, 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 tap. Okay, that's all we're doing. Now we're gonna leave a little bit of a gap here, okay? And then do the same thing, but make it slightly longer than the one we just did. Tap, 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 tap. Do it again, leave a gap. Slightly longer, not a whole lot longer, just slightly. And we can go over this as much as we want till it's as dark as we want it to be. The cool thing is, since we have that black in there, or not, since yes, we have the black in there, with that green, it's going to give us a cool effect with our branches. Now that we're almost down to the bottom, we're going to make them kind of go like this. Take the whole piece of the brush and just kind of aerial it. I guess that's the word we're looking for. Span it out. And then one more, and I'm gonna leave the bottom of the tree just like it is. So this way, as we fill it in, it works out perfectly. All right, so there is the beginning of our simple tree. Before you start with your next color, I highly suggest looking over this, seeing if you're happy with it. If you want to take some more of the darker color and go back in and tap, then go ahead. So I just feel like I want to add some thickness to these. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And I'm gonna also go over where the branch or the trunk, I really should have Googled that before I started this. Feel free to write that in the comments. I'm gonna, oh no, I stretched out my side. I wasn't leaning. I should have grabbed a tinier fan brush. It's okay, it's okay. Just make sure you're mindful when you're pressing down your fan brush. See how it just tapped over there? That's my bad. And all I'm doing, like I said, is I'm just creating more of a darker texture here and to make it look a little bit fuller. If you're happy with how you put down your first layer, just leave it alone. And don't be afraid to go over the trunk here. Once you're happy with that, then you're going to take the same dark color, and this is the last thing we're going to do with the dark color, okay, I promise. And then we're going to pull down just a little bit. We're going to put your fan brush like this and just pull it just a tiny bit. We're going to do that to each little section. I'm just going to extend our edges just a little bit with the dry end of this paintbrush. At the end of the day, it's really just going to create an illusion of more branches in the backgrounds. It's not really doing a whole lot for us other than that. And as you can see, that's all it kind of does. We're done here. Now let's grab our lighter green and we're gonna tappity tap 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 that off, and we're gonna gently, just easy little dabs. We're gonna do this throughout each one of these. Let's mix in some Christmas green. This is always the fun part for me, because now you can take and go and add little details. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the brown and just kind of pull down our trunk, and I'm just going to shade the one section. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of white paint, and then on the side grab you fan brush, and then do the same thing with the end. Tappity tap tap tap. Okay, make sure this is kind of dry, and then go around the edges of your tree. And the more you add in here, the more realistic it's going to look. And you can move it different ways, and it'll just give you a different appearance. Another cool effect is if at the very top, you make sure you just do it at the top instead of at the bottom like you're doing on the lower pieces. It'll give you a different look. You can pop a little bit right on the top up there. At the bottom of the trees, I tend to do more of the white, like around the edges and around the bottoms. I just personally like the way that looks, but if you want to put your white snow on the top throughout the whole thing, you go right ahead. And here is our first one. Super simple. It's not completely dry. I'm going to take pictures of everything and put at the end for you all for a nice little reveal. But as you can see, it turned out beautiful and literally took us a couple minutes. Just so I'm completely transparent here, because you're going to see me coming in with new brushes, and I already showed you. I had to leave and go pick up my daughter from school. So I don't want you to be like, well, didn't she say she was putting those brushes to the side? Yes, I did. And then I had to wash them so this way they didn't get dried out. Y'all, I got to ask you a personal question. Do you see, well, I don't know if it's personal, but what's your preference? Do you think these should have the fat part at the bottom here? You feel what I'm saying? Or here, let me know. Fat bottom, fat top. Just write in the comments. I'd love to see how many of you prefer what? Fat bottom, fat top. We're going to use the fat top for this one. Now, if you don't paint at all and you always think you're horrible at painting, or you can't paint, this tree to me is one of the easiest trees to paint, in my opinion. So bear with me while I get my paint all refreshed, and we will get this one started. We're not really going to see the trunk, stem, center of the tree at all in this one, other than the very bottom. However, we're going to basically use it as a guide for painting it. So I'm just gonna pull this up, and I'm not going to worry about any sort of perfection, or even if it's very dark, other than at the bottom. Now grab two different round brushes. I'm going to take the fatter one and do the darker colors first. And I'm using the same mix basically, and just as you can see here, I'm just taking the darker, mixing that. So we got a dark green. We're going to lay that one down first. Now, this is gonna sound funny, but I usually turn these upside down because I take the tip and I pull it up into the branch like that. And at the very bottom, since this is kind of what's going to stick out at the bottom of our tree, you can make the color really dark. We're about to layer the ish out of this, okay? So we're going to take our brush, press it down, and then just pull in. And you're going to notice it's going to get lighter, and it does not matter. Just make sure it's dark at the edge. Pull down, push down, push down, pull up, and then do the same thing here. Since we're almost at the top of the tree, I'm gonna really start tapering this in. So it's obviously coming to what looks like the top of a tree. In case anyone is wondering why I'm drying it, it's because for this particular tree, you are only really going to notice the difference between the strokes in the tree. So if you get up on this, you can see the different colors, you can see the difference in the strokes, you can see the difference in the width of how the ends of the branches. It's all very defined, especially now that it's dry. If you decide to just take another color right on top of wet paint, you're not going to have this effect. You're going to then get a blend. We don't want a blend. We want this to look individually, so it gives the tree more of a full appearance. I hope that helps. Makes sense. I'm taking the same brush, like I said, with a lighter color. Now I'm going to just create new branches. I dried this completely, and well, there's a spot or two, don't start me lying, that didn't dry all the way, but it'll be dry by the time we go to put our layer on there. You can see how this is really starting to form and create a full looking tree, and all we're doing is one simple brush stroke. That's it. Out, in, out, in, out, in. And so far, we've only been using the one brush. And right now, I'm going to take this Christmas green, and I'm going to take a little bit, well, I don't really need to pour any more in there, do I? Surprising enough, that's still pretty fresh even after I left for 5 minutes. Well, I was gone for like 20. We also grabbed some food to cook for dinner. And I'm just going to take this and mix this into a whole new color with that darker green. And we're going to use the same paintbrush again. This is going to be the last time we use this paintbrush, and then we're going to switch. Now find new spots to pull from. We have several beautiful colors in there. I'm going to take some of this lime green, and we're going to try and mix up a different color that isn't shockingly bright, but something that is going to give these a little bit of contrast with these dark colors. I'm very happy with that. It is not too green, and it should dry fairly muted. So I'm going to take this other brush that's really, it's a thinner round brush, and now we're going to fill it in, and we're going to get just as wiry as we want with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just come on in and pull anywhere you see sections that might have a little bit of white, have a couple spots in there, just fill them in. Super simple, and it's just layering. You're just layering colors and sizes of different brushes on top of one another, and it really turns into a simple, beautiful little piece. Now, the next part you can take or leave it, and that's just adding in the snow. I always love adding the snow on any trees that I'm doing. I feel like that's like the funnest part. But feel free to do these however you want. There are a couple different ways. One is just by tapping the edges like that, okay? Another, you can follow the different sections down like this. And one of my favorite ways, and to me, I think just the most organic way, is just tap randomly anywhere on the ends of the branches, and in the center more, kind of just create your own with the snow. So like right here, I'm just going to kind of create my own branch that isn't even there. And I'm just tapping it. Like I'm not following any branch in particular. I'm just looking to see if I see anything and just grabbing a section. And it's just going to give your tree a little bit more of a layered effect. And obviously, the drier your brush is, the more you're going to have different sections. And the heavier you have your paint, the more dominant the sections will be. Nice and simple. There's a lot of layering, a lot of different colors, and a lot of different ways that you can make this unique to whatever you're trying to paint it on. Bust out your fan brush again. And this tree is super, super simple as well. I just painted this a couple weeks ago as a dupe, or about a week ago. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So I'm not even going to worry about necessarily putting a little stem down here. I might add it in later, and all we're going to do is just tap everywhere. Take your dark color and just tap and just tap. And of course, make sure your bottom is your biggest section, and just tap and tap and tap. Tap with your fan brush. Don't overload your brush, right? Don't get wowed, have too much, because then you're just going to have globs of paint everywhere. Make sure your brush is slanted, so this way you're able to get that, you know, tree triangular effect. And just tap, 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 tap. Grab you another color and come on in and start tapping. Same pattern. All we're doing is just layering. That's all we're doing with this. It's going to build up your tree, and it's going to give it a really cool effect. And then bring in a third color just to add a little bit more contrast in here. Pop it as much as you want. Just tap, tap, tap. You can hold the fan brush sideways like this and tap like this sideways. It gives it a different effect. Or you can hold it straight up and down like I've been doing and just go. Either way, this tree is so cool because the more you move your fan brush around, and as long as you're moving it downward in the same position, you're gonna have so many different textures and looks, and it's just gonna look awesome. This particular tree, you can take your white paint and do the same thing, and you can even have that go down right in the center like this, and it's going to look like the tree is even fuller. As our painting tutorial comes to an end, you'll have to let me know in the comments below if you plan on trying any of these, if you're done your Christmas crafting for the season, or you're just gonna save this video until next year. Either way, I appreciate you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, and until next time.